Diego Maradona, the hand of God. Few moments in football history have created a villain quite like Diego Maradona in the 1986 World Cup. By the quarterfinals, Argentina faced England in a match already loaded with tension following the Falklands War. The game was tight, emotional, and carried far more than footballing significance. Then came the moment that changed everything. A high ball floated into the box and Maradona leapt alongside goalkeeper Peter Shilton. Instead of heading the ball, he secretly punched it into the net with his left hand. The referee missed it completely and awarded the goal. English players surrounded the officials in protest, but the decision stood. Around the world, outrage exploded instantly. To England, it was blatant cheating on the biggest stage imaginable. Yet what made the incident legendary was Maradona's response afterward. He famously claimed the goal was scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. Argentina celebrated. England fumed. Decades later, the incident remains one of football's most controversial moments, transforming Maradona into both a national hero and a World Cup villain, depending on who tells the story. Harald Schumacher, the collision that shocked football, the 1982 World Cup semifinal between France and West Germany, produced one of the most infamous moments ever witnessed on a football field. French substitute Patrick Battiston raced through on goal, with only goalkeeper Harald Schumacher standing in his way. Battiston released his shot, and immediately afterward, Schumacher launched himself directly into the Frenchman with terrifying force. The collision was brutal. Battiston lost consciousness instantly, suffered damaged vertebrae, and lost several teeth. What shocked viewers even more was Schumacher's reaction. Instead of showing concern, he casually prepared for the goal kick while medical staff rushed onto the field. Millions watching around the world expected a red card. None came. The referee awarded nothing. France eventually lost the match on penalties, but the controversy overshadowed everything else. German supporters defended Schumacher as playing hard football. Everyone else saw something very different. Newspapers across Europe labeled him a villain overnight. More than 4 decades later, the challenge remains one of the most disturbing incidents in World Cup history and continues to symbolize football's darkest moments. Luis Suarez, the save that wasn't a save. By 2010, Uruguay had reached its first World Cup semifinal in 40 years. Standing in their path was Ghana, carrying the hopes of an entire continent. Deep into extra time, Ghana seemed destined to score the winning goal. A goal-bound header flew toward an empty net with only Luis Suarez remaining on the goal line. In a split-second decision, Suarez deliberately used both hands to stop the ball. The stadium erupted. The referee immediately sent him off and awarded Ghana a penalty. Justice appeared inevitable. Then everything changed. Asamoah Gyan struck the crossbar. Ghana missed. Uruguay survived. Watching from the tunnel, Suarez celebrated wildly as if he had scored himself. Uruguay eventually advanced through penalties, while Ghana's dream ended in heartbreak. Around Africa, Suarez became football's ultimate villain. Critics called the act cynical and unforgivable. Suarez disagreed completely, arguing he simply sacrificed himself for his team. The debate continues today. Was it cheating, tactical genius, or both? Regardless of perspective, few World Cup moments have created a villain quite as unforgettable. Zinedine Zidane, the headbutt heard around the world. The 2006 World Cup final was supposed to be the perfect ending to one of football's greatest careers. Zinedine Zidane had already announced his retirement and was leading France against Italy in Berlin. Early in the match, he scored with an audacious Panenka penalty, putting France ahead and setting the stage for a legendary farewell. But as extra time unfolded, something unexpected happened. Italian defender Marco Materazzi exchanged words with Zidane during a routine phase of play. No cameras caught the conversation, but moments later, the world watched in disbelief as Zidane suddenly turned and drove his head directly into Materazzi's chest. The Italian collapsed instantly. Millions of viewers sat stunned. Referees consulted and produced the red card. Zidane walked past the World Cup trophy one final time on his way to the tunnel, creating one of football's most iconic images. France would lose the final on penalties. Some sympathized with Zidane after learning Materazzi had insulted his family. Others believed no provocation could justify the reaction. Either way, football's golden hero became the tournament's most shocking villain in a single unforgettable moment. Marco Materazzi, the man who provoked a legend, while Zidane's headbutt remains the most famous image of the 2006 World Cup final. Many fans consider Marco Materazzi the true villain of the story. Materazzi had already established a reputation as one of football's most aggressive defenders. Tough tackles, relentless mind games, and psychological warfare were central parts of his game. During the final against France, he scored Italy's equalizing goal and appeared locked in a constant battle with Zidane. Then came the exchange that changed history. Although the exact wording remained debated for years, Materazzi later admitted he insulted Zidane's sister during their argument. Whatever was said proved enough to push the French captain beyond his breaking point. The resulting headbutt became football folklore. but many supporters argued that Materazzi had deliberately engineered the incident. Critics accused him of manipulating emotions to remove France's most important player from the match. Italian fans praised his competitive mentality. Opponents viewed him as a master provocateur who crossed ethical boundaries. In the end, Materazzi lifted the World Cup trophy, while Zidane walked away in disgrace, cementing both men as central villains in one of football's most controversial finales. Rivaldo, the performance that fooled the world. Not every World Cup villain is remembered for violence or cheating. Sometimes a single act of deception can earn that title. During the 2002 World Cup group stage, Brazil faced Turkey in a tense match nearing its conclusion. Brazil led 2-1 when Turkish defender Hakan Ünsal kicked the ball toward Rivaldo near the corner flag. The ball struck Rivaldo harmlessly on the leg. Then came the drama. Rivaldo immediately grabbed his face and collapsed to the ground in apparent agony. The reaction looked so convincing that many assumed he had been struck in the head. The referee agreed and showed Ünsal a red card. Replays quickly exposed the truth. The ball had never touched Rivaldo's face. Around the world, outrage followed. FIFA later fined Rivaldo for simulation, a rare punishment at the time. Brazil would go on to win the entire tournament, but the incident remained attached to Rivaldo's legacy. Critics argued that one of the world's greatest players had manipulated officials during football's biggest event. Though far less violent than other controversies, it became one of the clearest examples of gamesmanship ever witnessed on the World Cup stage. Nigel de Jong, the karate kick final, the 2010 World Cup final between Spain and the Netherlands was expected to showcase elite football. Instead, parts of the match resembled a battlefield. No moment symbolized that better than Nigel de Jong's infamous challenge on Spanish midfielder Xabi Alonso. As Alonso moved to control a high ball, de Jong launched his foot directly into Alonso's chest with studs exposed. The impact was horrifying. Alonso collapsed instantly, clutching his ribs while players from both teams surrounded the referee. Millions watching expected an immediate red card. Astonishingly, de Jong received only a yellow. The decision sparked outrage across the football world. Spain eventually won the match through Andres Iniesta's extra-time goal, but discussion afterward focused heavily on the challenge. Critics called it one of the worst fouls ever seen in a World Cup final. Dutch supporters argued it was an unfortunate attempt to win the ball. For neutral fans, however, the image became unforgettable. Even years later, de Jong's flying karate-style kick remains one of the clearest examples of a player crossing the line between aggression and recklessness on football's biggest stage. Mauro Tassati, the elbow that ended a dream. The 1994 World Cup quarterfinal between Italy and Spain featured a moment so brutal that many viewers initially missed it completely. Late in the match, Spanish midfielder Luis Enrique challenged for a cross inside the penalty area. As players battled for position, Italian defender Mauro Tassati swung his elbow directly into Enrique's face. The impact shattered Enrique's nose instantly. Blood poured down his face as he stumbled across the field, desperately trying to show the referee what had happened. The evidence was impossible to ignore on television, yet somehow the officials saw nothing. No foul was given. No card was shown. Italy went on to win the match and advance. When television replays spread worldwide, anger followed immediately. FIFA reviewed the incident afterward and handed Tassati an 8-match suspension, one of the harshest punishments in tournament history. For Spanish fans, the moment became symbolic of injustice. For everyone else, it demonstrated how a single act of violence could alter an entire World Cup campaign. Decades later, the bloody image of Luis Enrique remains one of the tournament's most disturbing memories. Diego Costa, the villain of two nations. Few players have divided football supporters quite like Diego Costa. Born in Brazil, Costa represented his homeland at senior level before making the shocking decision to switch international allegiance to Spain before the 2014 World Cup. The reaction in Brazil was explosive. Supporters felt betrayed. Media outlets accused him of abandoning his country just months before Brazil hosted the tournament. Suddenly, Costa entered the World Cup carrying the hostility of an entire nation. Every touch of the ball was greeted with boos. Every missed chance amplified criticism. To make matters worse, Spain endured a disastrous campaign. Defending champions entering the tournament as favorites, they crashed out during the group stage after humiliating defeats. Costa failed to score and became an easy target for frustrated fans. Brazilian supporters celebrated his struggles, while Spanish fans questioned whether he had justified the controversy surrounding his switch. Though Costa's decision was entirely legal, it transformed him into a unique kind of World Cup villain. Unlike others, he wasn't hated for a foul or scandal. He was hated because millions believed he had chosen the wrong flag. Luis Suarez, villain twice over. Most players spend an entire career becoming a World Cup villain once. Luis Suarez somehow managed it twice. 4 years after his infamous handball against Ghana, he returned for the 2014 World Cup carrying a reputation as football's ultimate antagonist. Then came the match against Italy. During a tense battle for qualification, cameras caught Suarez leaning into defender Giorgio Chiellini and appearing to bite him on the shoulder. Chiellini immediately revealed visible teeth marks to the referee. Once again, controversy exploded worldwide. Replays confirmed the incident and disbelief spread across the sport. It wasn't even Suarez's first biting scandal, making the situation even more surreal. FIFA responded with a lengthy suspension that effectively removed him from football for months. Uruguay's tournament soon ended, but the headlines belonged entirely to Suarez. Critics labeled him uncontrollable. Supporters argued his passion occasionally crossed dangerous lines. Whatever side people took, one fact became impossible to deny. No player in modern World Cup history has embraced the role of football villain more completely than Luis Suarez, whose actions ensured his place among the tournament's most controversial figures forever.